Thank you.
A lot of news.
Hillary Clinton's campaign planning to lean on President Obama as he enters his last 100 days in office. Now, one columnist is taking a look back at Mr. Obama's presidency. Daniel, a lot of the Washington Examiner, did I say his last name right? Anybody know? All right, says the president will leave behind a failed legacy of overpromising, including the 2008 financial stimulus, failing to create jobs, that's for sure. Obamacare is suffering from high premiums, a foreign policy that left the Middle East in flames, and terrorism on the rise. He is also writing, quote, Obama has done damage to the body politic, some of it irreparable. He has reduced America's standing in the world and the public's respect for and trust in the government. 2/3 think the country is headed on the wrong track. Very harsh assessment there. Judge, I'll start with you on this one. What do you think? Do you
pretty much
think
agree
it's
with
fair?
all. No,
Yeah.
I think it's fair. Of course, I mean, it may coincide with his political beliefs, but let's face it. I mean, we did that whole reset with Russia, which reflects very poorly on Hillary because she was the one pushing that red button, and you can see how badly that has turned out. The Middle East is in flames. Obamacare, yes, 10 million people who didn't have insurance now have it. The remaining 300 million and change in this country are either paying higher premiums or their deductibles are $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, which basically means they went from having health insurance to having catastrophe insurance.
Yeah.
So that's a disaster. So yeah, things have gotten worse. And when they tout numbers of unemployment and they say, oh, look how good the jobs picture is, it's because people are taking part-time jobs now because their employers don't want to employ them full-time and be subject to the requirements of Obamacare. So they're working part-time jobs, making less and having less of a life. The gut check is the one that tells you.
Yeah.
Do people out there feel that you're economically better off than you were years ago? And most people say, no, it's a harder life.
Well,
do people feel that race relations are better than they were 8 years ago? No, they're clearly worse than they were. So I think other than his core supporters who will chant his name and say he's wonderful no matter what happens, most people feel, and that's why 2/3 say that we're on the wrong track, most people feel we are on the wrong track.
So I know, Melissa, we are waiting on Donald Trump to step up here, but as far as are we better off now than when Obama took, men aged 20 or older aren't even better off today now than they were in 1948. I mean, this is just one statistic on the economy that we're looking at right now. 7 years after President Obama signed financial stimulus into law as a result of the financial crisis, 1/3 of men in this country, 20 years old or older, do not have paid work. That's the economic situation that this country faces, and we have put trillions of dollars of stimulus into the system. Melissa, look where we are today. That will be remembered.
Well, and you talk about race relations in this country, and what is the point I always make? It really comes down to the color of green, not black, not white, not these racial groups that are kind of going head to head.
Sure.
What's interesting about what Sandra's saying is that many of those young, I call them sometimes insurgents, because they'll protest, Skip. They'll go into these areas, these other cities and states to show up and kind of be on the scene, if you will. You know, standing on the scene while a protest broke out and you just happen to be there. That's their job there for the day. Not everybody, and many of the protests remained peaceful, but those that got out of hand, I mean, we know from reports that many of those people didn't live in those cities.
Absolutely. They go from place to place. And the sad part is I'm a big supporter of people's right to protest. And what they